Oh dear. Right, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at wooden inlays, specifically wooden inlays that is done on a laser engraver. So you can do fine projects just like this. That's right, wooden inlays. Look how close they are. I know there's some marks on there. It's been in and out my car for about a week and a half now, and there's a little bit of worm in it. But if you want to generate inlays like this, hang around for this video. So in order to get details like that, so you can use contrast in different woods. I've used walnut, tulip because I didn't have any maple with me, and purple heart. That's what the purple hearts are in this plaque. It's a door plaque for a family friend's daughter. To get things that close when it comes to assembly of these products, there is a secret to it, and that secret is kerf offset. So what is kerf? Kerf is this gap that is left behind when you pass a cutting device through it. So in this case, we have a circular saw blade that runs through it. This is the gap that's left over. This is the measurement of the kerf of this blade. So in order to work out the kerf offset of your laser, because every single laser is different, I'm going to take a tip that was done by the Louisiana hobby guy. He's a fantastic bloke. He's been in the CNC laser 3D printing business for a long, long time. I'm going to take you over to Lightburn. We're going to take his idea of how to work out what kerf offset is. I'm going to show you how to generate it yourself so you can work it out and test your laser to find out what your kerf offset is. And then we'll get into the project of making that specific plaque.
Okay, so I've just fired up the computer. We're now in Lightburn. First of all, what we're going to do is we're going to take the rectangle tool. We're going to make a 10mm by 20mm rectangle. Just take that off, or 40mm, 10 by 40. Hit enter. Going to make that red. What we're going to do is just hit. So once the shape is selected, we're going to hold Control and press D, and that's going to duplicate the shape. And then we're going to bring this across. And then we're going to press and hold Control, press D again until we get 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to click and drag up to the left, and that's going to select everything. We're going to hold Control and press D again. That's going to copy those 5, so now we have 10. Then we're going to do the same, click and drag up and to the left, select everything, hold Control, press D, and that's going to duplicate that 10. So now we have 20 of these rectangles. And then what we're going to do is just select one of the ends and then just hit delete. And what that's going to give us is 19 rectangles. So in total, we're going to have 20 cuts. So each one of these, the laser is going to pass down, and it's going to give us 20 cuts. And what that's going to do is it's going to help us with the accuracy of finding the kerf for a baseline, basically. So once we've done that, we are going to click the rectangle tool again, and we're going to select the top left hand corner and click and drag across to the bottom. And all this is going to do, if we select the select tool, hold Control and find one of the corner points, and we're going to click and drag, and that's going to bring our rectangle out. So what it's going to do is it's going to cut through all of these 19 rectangles first, and then it's going to create a perimeter on the outside, and that's just going to give us a very rough jig, but that means we can calibrate our kerf. When it comes to cutting the material, just make sure if you double click on your cut layer, so this is the red layer, I'm just going to double click on the red layer. Just make sure that your kerf is set to 0 to begin with. If this is filled in with any sort of number, it's going to skew your numbers when it comes to working out what your curve is. So once we've done that, we're just going to go across to the laser engraver and we're going to hit start and get that processed.
So one of the downsides of having a big machine like this is that when one of the bits flies off into the crumb tray, you have to get a big stick and go fishing. Oh, it's a palaver. Because I need this to dig out. Just for that. Right, so when you have your test cut out, what you're going to want to do is bring all of these rectangles to the left-hand side. And it can be a little bit tricky, like they do want to pop out, but just brush them over to the left-hand side, just gently. I'm going to place a bit of wood on top and just create a bit of pressure on the top, just so you can really squeeze them over, and that's going to help so it doesn't pop those rectangles out. Right, so once you've done that, we're going to take our calipers, make sure that they're set to 0, and we're going to measure this gap. I'm going to have to do it all over again now. I'm going to have to measure this gap right here on the end. So take the calipers just until it touches. And what measurement do we have there? So we've got 405. 405. I don't have a pencil on me. So what we're going to do with that measurement is that 405, we're going to take that, and because we've created 20 cuts, this is how we get it so precise. What we're going to do is take that 405, we're going to divide it by 20, and then because if we were to cut a square out, we're cutting down this side and we're cutting down this side, we need to divide that number by 2. So we're going to have to take this 405 divided by 20, then divide that by 2. Okay? So we'll do the calcs and then we'll get back over into Lightburn and we can create the offset that we need to generate these perfect inlays.
So we're back into Lightburn. I've pulled in my project file. This is going to be the American Black Walnut, the blue outline for my framing. This is going to be the engrave file. So the laser is going to pass from left to right. Up here you can see that it's got a multi label on it. So what it's going to do is it's going to engrave it from left to right, but then it's going to do an outline afterwards. And all this means is when it's done the engrave, we may get some micro lines here, so when it passes around the outside it's just going to clean up all of these edges. The yellow is the engrave file, the red is going to be the cut file, and this is where we're going to dive into the Kerf offset. So we know from the test that we've done, we've got our sort of baseline calculations to do. So my verniers read at 4.05 millimeters, and as I stated earlier, we're going to divide that by 20. That's going to give us a 0.2025 offset, but like I said before, because we're cutting on both sides of the engrave, so if you see here beside this box, because it's coming up this side and it's coming round, we're on opposing sides of the engraving. So what we need to do here is divide this number by 2, and that gives us a base calculation of 0.0125. So we're going to come into our Kerf offset. We are on the red layer, and we're going to go to 0.1025, did I say? Let's just bring that calculator back up again. 0.1025, so we can only go to 3. This may change anyway because of the material type. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to engrave this. Once I've finished engraving this, I'm just going to go straight to cutting out one of these hearts and trying to drop it in one of these hearts that I've engraved out, just to see whether or not there's any slop. Because these are different materials, this is going to be American black walnut. We used MDF to create our Kerf offset jig, so it's 2 different materials. They burn differently because American black walnut is potentially softer. There's different variables there, so this is why it's just a kind of a baseline. So we'll go in, we'll get this engraved, we'll get one of the hearts cut out, and we'll drop it in one of these and see if it's tight enough. Okay, so as you can see there, it's failed our tap test. It's just fallen straight out, probably because the American black walnut I've got is extremely dry. So what we're going to do to rectify that, we're going to do another test cut on the heart. Going to go into our Kerf offset parameters again, and this 102, I am going to, because it literally fell out, I'm just going to bring that to 0.12, and we shall go again and do another quick test and see whether or not we're pretty much there. So I was really close on that one. We're just going to make it slightly bigger. I mean, we're talking tenths of a millimeter. What I'm going to do is make that to a 5. We'll run it one more time and this should be correct now. Okay, great, that was spot on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut out the other 2 hearts. So we've got our 3 hearts to fill our engraving. With the tulip, it's the same thickness as the purple heart material, but this is why I have this square here. The material that I'm using, the stock that I'm using, is quite large. So if you have different kinds of materials all on the same sort of cut layer, what might be wise to do, if you have space within your material, just create a square, a circle, any sort of shape, and then you can just test cut this and see whether or not it falls out. Because the worst thing you want to do is think that because it's the same thickness as something else, you run your file and you get around it and you find that it's not popping out, it hasn't cut all the way through. So just cut a small section out of it first. It's going to be waste anyway. So we're going to get into that now. Once we've cut these out, it is literally just the rest of the process to get the plaque finished. Now we go to glue in the inlay, and then we're then on to the rest of the project. So we've got to cut it to size, get everything sanded, get the round overs on, and then apply a coat of finish. And what I will say is I've been working on another project where I can incorporate birch ply to make sort of house signs. So it's going to be the same principle, but instead of using different sort of exotic woods, because they can be hard to come by, they can be fairly pricey, I'm trying to work in whether or not I can get sort of a 3mm engrave on the birch ply and then paint some 3mm MDF different colors, so you can literally make colored inlays. So if you're interested in that video, I'll get that sorted out if there's enough interest in there. Just leave a comment in the comment box below.
So hopefully everything's made sense. If you've got any value out of this, please take a second just to like and subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. It means the absolute world to me. If you don't subscribe, you're going to miss out on next week's video. Hopefully next week's video is to do with these. This is fast becoming one of my most profitable products yet. So I would love to share that with you. It's a very quick, very easy job. It's cheap to produce, and the markups on it are incredible. So stay tuned. Hopefully I'll see you next week.